Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of It's Not Only Football, Friday Night Lights, and Beyond. Today, we are talking about Season 1, Episode 21, Best Laid Plans. Zach?
Smash gets a hall pass. Big Rig gets dumped. Jason thinks things are sunnier on the other side of the street. Lyla does not agree. Coach goes rogue and makes a decision that Tammy does not accept, and we finally see the depths of Landry and the genius of Jesse Plemons.
How is it going, everybody? It's another Thursday morning, and we are so excited to be here with you talking about, like I said in the opening, Season 1, Episode 21, Best Laid Plans. Zach's intros get better and better. How are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good. I got to tell you, the one thing I left off of my intro, which I typed up, and I'm glad I didn't just keep reading like a robot, is I said, and we finally see the genius of Jesse Plemons. Dog poop. They were here for their favorite segment. She would have said, why? And I'll tell you this is why, and this is the beyond part of Friday Night Lights and Beyond. Do you guys notice? So I keep my trash cans in the garage, and today is trash day.
Okay.
Anytime I leave my can out and the trash truck comes and gets my trash, if it's sitting there, if I leave it out for 5 minutes, it feels like everyone walking their dog wants to throw their dog poop in it because they're like, oh, this guy never gets dog poop in his trash can. I'm going to put it in. Does that happen to you guys?
Okay. Well, wait a second. This is a real problem because as a dog owner myself, when I'm walking around, what am I supposed to carry my dog's shit? I pick it up. I do the responsible thing. I put it in its little bag. And if there's a trash can out, I'm going to put it in the trash can. That's what trash cans are for.
Well, I'm totally fine with it. It just feels like people are like, I know this guy's trash cans are never out, but
you feel it's targeted.
I feel like they hold on to it for Thursday mornings.
It's a big conversation on next door in my neighborhood. There's a lot of people that say, hey, do not put your dog poop in my trash can. That's your dog. Take it home to your house and put it in your trash can. I don't own a dog for a reason because I don't want dog poop in my trash can. So I see both sides of this story. Also a dog owner. I try to hold on to the poop till I get back to my house just because I know neighbors are like watching out of their blinds.
Of course you hold on to it.
They're just no, because I know that people are watching me in this neck of the woods. So.
I feel like that's psycho behavior. I'm like, you guys, if you're out with why are we all of a sudden being like, my trash can, only my purest trash must touch the thing.
Zach's, it's not only football. Today is dog poop, which, hey, a lot of people deal with it. So, yeah, including Coach Taylor when he stepped in it a couple episodes ago and they kept on filming in a scene and he just kind of shrugged it off on the sidewalk on the way up to the front door of the Riggins house. So, Mae, what is your It's Not Only Football?
Well, if it's not only football, which we all know it's not, I would say for me, this episode, it's about two sort of, I guess, equally as random things as Zach's, which is just one that like Jesse Plemons is the best actor in the world. And the other is just, there's one line that I just can't stop thinking about. And it's not a damn laurel. That's my favorite line from this whole episode. They're just yelling at you and they just say, you can't rest on your laurels, not a laurel. And he goes, not a damn laurel. And I think that's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
That's awesome. For me, this episode is not only football, it is couplings. It is new couplings, old couplings. It is like the penultimate episode of this season takes a close examination of the inner workings of all the relationships they set up over the first 20 episodes. You've got Waverly and Smash. You've got Riggins and Jackie. You've got Street and Lyla. You've got Coach and Tammy. You've got Landry and Tyra and Tammy. I mean, it is just bringing all these pieces back together in just small parts. There's not like a huge number of massive scenes. I know the roast happens at the end of the episode, but a lot of the scenes in this particular episode deal with two people speaking to each other in very honest, very clear ways, and sometimes not so honest ways. We'll get into that later, but yeah, couplings is what this episode was for me. This episode was written by Carrie Aaron and Carter Harris. Now, they between them wrote 6 episodes throughout the course of the season, including some like Who's Your Daddy, What to Do While You're Waiting, Extended Families, and more. It seems like towards the end of the season, what they decided to do was just take some of the top lieutenants and they're like, we're going to give you all these episodes on the back end of the season. We need to, maybe make sure we get this ship into port here.
Well, I think part of that is actually, a little insider baseball here. Writers' rooms, they don't get paid to stay open the whole season. And so people who are higher up are paid to stay on, so they tend to get the latter episodes because they're like, well, you're still under contract, so we'll have you go write this, as opposed to, so like, why would we pay you more to stick around and write an episode?
Exactly.
Also support writers. We support the writers' strike here, just so you guys know. Union strong. We support you. That's not an attack. That's like an aside. That's like we're just letting you guys know, there is a writer's strike going on. And obviously nothing, maybe you could tell us about your grandmother's bumper sticker that I think is sort of related to this, right, Zach, about the writer's strike? It's the perfect description of this situation.
That's not my grandmother. That's my nanny.
Oh, my bad. I thought you meant like my nanny.
No, my nanny. The woman who takes care of my children, I understand. Yesterday had a bumper sticker that said, "My driving is worse than the second season of Friday Night Lights," which I thought was hilarious.
It's the funniest thing of all time. And it relates back to the other bumper stickers we've been seeing, which are or the signs that some of the strikers have been putting up, saying do you really want to have a repeat of season 2 of Friday Night Lights?
Yeah. I've seen a lot of signs that say the last time there was a writer's strike, Jesse Plemons killed a guy. Let's not have history repeat itself. But I mean, it is what it is. That is a spoiler for season 2 going forward. But to Zach's point earlier, Carrie Aaron was the one that was still on to make sure everything got done and got completed. And she was there on set because writers are infinitely important, especially to a show like Friday Night Lights that you all love. So we support writers here. The opening scenes of this episode are very interesting. In the script, the opening scenes of the episode solely deal with Coach and Tammy. There's a wonderful scene. Coach and Tammy are in bed. Tammy wakes him up. It's the middle of the night. He's like, I missed my flight. She's like, no, you didn't. But I just had a bad dream and I need to talk to you about this. And if you go to Austin today for this TMU interview, don't accept the job, please. There's a bad feeling I have about this. And Coach is just like, you're having cold feet. I'm going back to bed. I'm going to bed. And he closes his eyes. The alarm goes off and he says, I'm going to kill you. It's just like, we've all had that moment where you're woken up and you don't, even if you had only 2 minutes left to be asleep, you get so angry about not having that 2 minutes.
Well, here's a personal question. Are you guys snooze buttoners or are you not?
Let's
Big
take a
time.
guess.
Yes, must. It's a must.
I was going to say that Mae I thought was. No, that's okay. I was going to say I thought Mae was.
Big time.
Zach, what do you think about me? Do you think I'm a snooze buttoner?
Yes.
No.
Yes, I am a snooze buttoner.
I feel like you launched. You are? I'm like, I can see you just launching out of bed, ready to go.
No. Zach lived with me. He knows that I'm a little bit of a procrastinator in the morning. Zach is not a snooze buttoner. Zach gets up out of bed.
I've never hit a snooze button in my life. My wife was like 4, so I mean, you guys have had 4 a.m. call time sometimes, so your alarm set for 3 a.m. or whatever. So that means my wife is like, well, I'm going to set my alarm for 2 and hit it 5 times until 3 a.m. And I'm like, I'm sleeping here. So if you have a partner, don't snooze button or go sleep in another room.
When I am getting up super early like that and Kelsey's sleeping next to me, I do just get up, or I turn it super low and I put it just on the other side of my pillow. So I'm the only one who hears the alarm going through my pillow to try. I tell myself that she can't hear that. Whether it's true or not, I'm not quite sure.
Wow.
But it all leads to Coach heading out to Austin, to TMU, Texas Methodist University, completely made up university. And you can kind of tell when they're walking through the stadium, because I think there's some CGI of whatever stadium they're in. There's a big press box at the end of the stadium that is so out of place. It's CGI. I think we were pressing the edges of our budget by putting a CGI press box up on whatever stadium he's walking through. But in his words, he gets hotboxed. And he gets forced into taking the job.
Hotbox means something else in my history. I don't know, Mae, do you agree with me?
Me too.
Because if
me both,
if my wife came home and I was like, don't take the job without talking to me. She's like, I'm sorry, I got hotboxed. I'm like, you guys just smoke weed in a car and you made this decision?
And then said yes to a job? Exactly. Same.
You were high. That doesn't count.
I think you were under the influence. Acceptance under the influence.
Not under this law.
It's not viable in court.
Yeah. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
I think the coach means he was hotboxed in this regard, as though he walked in and it was kind of an ambush and everybody was like, look, We gave you the offer a couple of weeks ago. We've got another guy. He's gotten offers from other universities. We can't lose our second place guy. So you got to accept the job now or walk away from it for good. And as actors, we get this sometimes. Like you're just waiting for the universe to give you a sign, like in the middle of pilot season where you've got a couple of projects. You're like, this one could go. Is it this one? Is it this one? How do I make the right choice? And then someone says, we're going to walk away. And you're like, oh, I need to.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
We've been there. So I understand Coach's dilemma here and his decision.
But you can't take a big job without talking to your family, for God's sakes, especially she just woke up. She had a nightmare about it. It's like you're making your wife's nightmares come true. Jesus.
Yeah. Literally.
Well, that does send us down the path of the rest of the episode. I figure we'll just stay with Coach and Tammy throughout the rest of the episode here. And this gives us some of the best Taylor married couple conversations I think that you see in Friday Night Lights, this episode. And it mostly is just on Tammy's side. I mean, some of the finest work that Connie Britton has ever done on the show has been this amazing. Episode.
And the conversation when she's like, well, what if we sorry if I'm jumping around, but what if me and Julie stay here? And he just goes, no. She's like, no, just no. Yeah, just no. She goes, well, I think I'm mature. He goes, well, then in that situation, I'm not mature. This isn't mature. I'm not mature that way. It's just like,
yeah, it's so good.
It was so amazing.
Yeah, Coach comes home and tells Tammy she's on the phone trying to get in touch with Tyra, who she hasn't heard from for a couple of days, and we'll get to that later. But he comes home and he's like, "Look, they ambushed me. I took the job, but this is going to be great." And then he's so in such a tone deaf manner in the scene that Zach was just talking about, walks into the living room and says, "We're celebrating. I'm taking y'all out to dinner." This is like, and this is the tough thing, in Coach's field, he's worked so hard, so long to get to a point where he earns a job that could really support his family in a whole new way. And so he is rightfully excited about it. The same thing happens to us when we take a job and then they tell us it's in Toronto.
I'm such an asshole about this stuff. I'm like, I got this job where, my family had to move to Vancouver for a year and a half for some bullshit I was doing. And then my wife's like, I'm up for this show. It shoots in Toronto. I'm like, well, maybe I should stay home with the kids and you go to Toronto. She's like, no, we're all going. I'm like, well, like we're all, I'm so Coach Taylor. I'm like, no, it's my ride. We're all on it. Get off my ride and get on my wife's.
It's tough in this situation because you're fighting for success. And in this case, as a couple, they've been kind of driving towards the same goal, but at some point it diverges a little bit. And you have to be able to roll with the punches.
I loved that, the solution that she came up with. I thought it was so chic to be like, listen, all I can control is my needs in this situation. And this is a solution that if he's not willing to budge on what he needs for himself, then like, why should she have to budge on what she needs for herself?
I love that this whole arc, there's so much going on. And it just comes down to, she's like, no.
Yeah.
No. Like, I know you're the coach, you're the big wig, whatever.
It's just not an option.
Thanks for all those compliments of like, I wrote, it's like, I love you. I respect you. I'm proud of you. I'm madly in love with you. And she's like, cool. I'm not moving our family again. Like, I have shit going on.
She says all that nice stuff. You're the best. We love you. And he's like, great. So we're done fighting. And she's like, of course.
And then I'm not going. It's like, oh, I don't know how to not be the boss.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's the way that Connie approaches these scenes. First of all, the scene where he comes in that Zach had mentioned a couple minutes ago, and they're sitting on the couch, and he walks in. He says, "We're going to dinner." Julie walks out of the room, and he says, "Now the door is going to slam." And then it slams, and he goes, "Why is that?"
Wait, no, actually,
why do I never know that's gonna? I know it's a very quiet closing of the door. It's not actually a slam.
That's so funny because I actually thought like it didn't slam. Like,
no, she slammed it. I heard her slam it. It's way down the hall. It's down there. It's way down there.
The doors slam in my house all the time and in my face, figuratively and literally. Doors, you were like, Gilford, door slam. I know what a door slam sounds like. That's not a door slam. That was a closing the door. And that's what I actually thought I loved in that scene because I thought like, he's like, and now the door slams and it doesn't. It's like, Coach, you don't know what you're talking. Like, you're so out of touch with your family that
no, it slams. They just undermixed the door slamming.
Harry, Aaron, and Jeff Reiner, and
as we know, it's difficult to mix audio. You know, you never know. It's hard to get the levels right.
Let us know in the comments if you feel that was a doors. I'll show you a door slam. I'm gonna.
Yeah. In the comments below, tell us whether or not you heard a door slam. Let's get to the meat of the scene. Where
the meat of the scene is Tammy's airplane pour of wine. Jesus Christ!
As usual. It gets more and more and more throughout this whole show.
It's to the brim. It's like, do you ever do that? You're like, oh my God, look, I can make like my drink go over it sits on top, and because of chemistry, it can go over the glass. I'm like, you don't need to do that with wine. Like, there's more. There's a bottle. You can refill it when you're out. Like,
you don't want
to go over to the counter. There's plenty of wine.
Okay. Connie looks at Kyle
about all this
and says, "Honey, come sit down with me." And he comes down, he sits down next to her, and she goes, "Hi." And she smiles at him, and she takes his hat off, and he gets so immediately scared. He's like, "Oh no, what is happening? I don't like what is happening here." She's like, "Why not? Why? What's going on? It's okay. Everything's fine." And then she pitches him the idea, and his immaturity in that moment is driven just by his. Yeah, but he doesn't want to be away from his family. His belief is that if you're not together in the same house, how can you be a family? But
it's also like you have to have that conversation. I feel like he could have had that in a more mature way. He could have been like, "Listen, I hear you. I respect you. That's a really interesting thing. I'll think about it. I have serious reservations about being away from you, and I want to really get into the whatever. You know, not being like, no, I'm a baby. No, I'm a big baby. No." But, at least he admits he's a big baby.
Hey, Coach, we know, is reactionary and just needs a couple of minutes. And then he starts to really get it at the roast. They do like this little party to send the team off to state where they're all roasting each other.
How do you feel about a roast? I really got to say, unless it's drag queens reading me, a roast is like off the table. I don't find it appealing.
Okay, we're on to the roast for a minute. And I have two thoughts. A, why is it just like sausage? It's a sausage fest. And I don't mean figuratively. Everyone's shoving sausage in their mouth. And I was like,
because you're in Texas, and Texas style pepper sausage is fantastic.
You roast the sausage, bro. What do you think? There's going to be brisket?
I'm too literal. I'm still figuring out this whole analytical book club thing.
Okay.
Second of all, I laughed my ass off out loud to the point where I was crying. And Taylor Kitsch goes, "How about Saracen sleeping with Coach's daughter?"
It's really good. This is what happens when you make athletes do comedy.
Line reading of the whole season.
Yeah, and that's amazing.
Taylor's like, "Oh my God, this joke is so gold. I can't even get through it without laughing." And then the crickets are obvious, but even without the cricket, even if the whole crowd went wild, his reading killed me.
It's really good.
I laughed my ass off too. And here's the secret about all of this. That's not the scripted line. So Kitsch had held on to that. He had known he wanted to say that probably for days, right? So the way it bursts out of him as though he had been waiting for days to say that line.
It plays.
The actual line that is in the script is he gets up there and he grunts and he shuffles and he looks at Coach and he's like, "I told you I can't do this." And then he looks at, he goes, "Everybody on the team are jerks." And then he walks away.
Oh my God.
That's what's supposed to be Riggins' line in the script, but instead Kitchen only would it just took me back to a time just working with Taylor where just when something is funny to Taylor, it bursts out of him. And the way he delivered that line,
how did you not burst out laughing when they did it? I mean, if you were in the room.
I'm pretty sure we did. And then Tony, our first AD, ran around. I'm sure Tony ran around to everybody and was like, guys, everyone just needs to be, I know this one was funny, but we need 2 minutes of just you sitting there awkwardly, having your eyes flit around the room.
Hey guys, I love this time of year. Spring going into summer. It's time for renewal. And for me, that means reconnecting with friends and family I haven't seen for a while. We're all getting time off soon. And when I do, I want to make sure I have plenty of wine on hand for us to celebrate with. That's why I have First Leaf.
Well, you know what this time of year means to me?
What?
It means it's hot outside.
Yes.
That means I'm drinking that white wine. And guess what? I'm not drinking a Chardonnay like Tammy Taylor. I want to get into some different stuff. Do you know what a Mueller-Thurgow is?
I don't, but I bet the people at First Leaf do.
Oh, well, they told me all about it, and it's basically German's white wine. It's a cross between a Riesling that no one wants to drink, except it's actually good if First Leaf gives you the right one. I'm telling you, First Leaf is the bomb. I'm not just drinking Cali Pinot Noirs anymore. I'm in Germany drinking their white wine because it was so easy. I gave them the quiz. I said it's hot out. I said I don't like it sugary. I want it a little bit buttery. Whatever that means in a drink, it doesn't mean there's butter in it. It means it has a certain je ne sais quoi on the tongue. And they sent me my German Mueller-Thurgow.
This is incredible. See, when Zach says they, he means the experts over at First Leaf who are there to help you personalize your own wine orders based on your tastes, what you love, what you don't love, and they make sure that you get wines that you don't even know exist, but that they know you'll love.
And they just show up at your door. Hand delivered. You don't got to go to the store. You don't got to be embarrassed talking to that dude or that woman being like, I don't know about wine. Can you tell me about wine? They hook you up. You open your door. There's a box. You open the box. There's good wine.
And they guarantee that it's going to be good wine, that you are going to love it. You know, every selection
100%
is backed by First Leaf's 100% satisfaction guaranteed. That is right. Listen, I love reconnecting with friends and family over bottles of First Leaf wine. So does Zach, and I bet you will feel the exact same way too. So give First Leaf a try. Head over to tryfirstleaf.com/FridayFootball to sign up and save 50% off your first 6 hand-curated bottles plus free shipping.
That's tryfirstleaf.com/FridayFootball to save 50% on your first 6 bottles plus free shipping. Tryfirstleaf.com/FridayFootball.
tryfirstleaf.com/FridayFootball. It's Not Only Football. Friday Night Lights and Beyond is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Most of you listening right now are probably multitasking. Yep. While you're listening to us talk, you're probably also driving or cleaning or exercising, maybe even grocery shopping. But if you're not in some kind of moving vehicle, there's something else you could be doing right now. Getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. It's easy, and you can save money by doing it right now from your phone. Drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $700 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, or being a homeowner, and a lot more. So, just like your favorite podcast, hopefully us, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you are protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 29 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $698 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2021 and May 2022. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations.
There's another line in the roast that I just isn't scripted that I was like, wasn't sure how it played. You're not the father from Smash to Riggins. And then there's a room full of adults all like cheering and laughing at the fact that this 17-year-old kid doesn't have many children at this point. I don't know. That kind of threw me a little bit.
I thought it was funny. I'm a monster. I was like, that's a good one, Smash.
That was pretty good. I appreciated that the crowd appreciated it.
It's a special skill to be able to read people and like have it be funny, toe the line between like funny and true, or like mean and true and not funny. And it's just such a specific skill. And that's why again, like when they do it on Drag Race, I mean, there's no better readings to get roasted by than like a drag queen who's like excellent at doing it. That shit is brilliant. But when you're watching some like sausage fest, no offense, like roasting, oftentimes I'm like, oh my God, this is really not funny.
Well, you know, I think, you know, it depends on the environment that you're in. And I think, you know, a team environment is a pretty easy place for a roast to happen. I feel like these guys do it to each other probably every single day. I mean, on my football team in high school, our team's motto was mountain movers the year that I was there, because they had lost so many seasons in a row, and out of nowhere we made the playoffs and made a deep run, and they're like, we can move mountains. And so like we had this celebratory banquet. We'd have a banquet, but we would give out superlatives, and a lot of them were on the you know, laziest side, or the, you know, least likely to know his playbook award or like whatever those were. So it was a roast in a way, but I feel like a team environment lends itself well, I think, to a roast situation. I don't think you ever want to be roasted by complete strangers. Maybe the people that know you best roasting you is if it's going to ever happen in a positive way. But leave it to Tammy to turn the roast into a teachable kill them moment. With kindness. Kill them with kindness. Jab in the coach and Tammy fight about.
I like she kind of like threatens him though. I like that she doesn't like. She's like before it goes on. There's this like threat of like, is she gonna say something? Is it gonna be whatever? And it's like there's like I like that she kind of keeps him on edge of like this. There's just like this danger there until it actually goes down. And yeah, of course she does it in the chicest way possible.
Yeah, and she does it by reminding him. Just how much everybody in this community has meant to them and does still mean to them.
Right.
And kind of also, like, I think saying her goodbye before saying goodbye. Go ahead, Zach.
When she realizes too, like, nope, not doing it. We're staying here. I mean, there's so much that happened. I honestly, like, this cheesy roast is kind of such a pivotal moment for so many of the arcs in the thing. I mean, you know, we kind of talked about the end scene where Tammy says, no, we're not going. And there's also, this is like the culmination of like Smash has got his hall pass, and you know, he sees when he gets to be Smash, like, and you know, I don't think we need to like dwell on this too much, but like, he's like, oh, I get to be Smash, and like he finds like the emptiness in it, and he misses Waverly, and at the end of the day, he's like, oh, I could go party with this young woman, but I want to go bring. I wrote in my notes, I was like, he's gonna go deliver some sausage. But, it's cake.
He also is gonna bring her a
cake.
Guys,
but he realizes like being the Smash isn't all it's hyped up to be.
Yeah.
I actually crave this human connection, and then he goes, and you know, we see the connection between them, and then it's
kind of like how in Europe the drinking thing where it's like kids, like younger people are allowed to drink, and so they're kind of like, kid, I don't want to. It's sort of like having that freedom to make their own choice, not trying to like fit the infrastructure of what they're supposed to do according to someone else. It kind of is the thing that actually allows them to find their own truth and realize they don't even want it.
Exactly. And so then he goes to Waverly, and we see like, oh, this is a real connection, and where's this going to go? And we'll find out at state. But then it's also, and I want to like hit this, it's this like one of my favorite moments and one of the most amazing moments between Jesse and Annie. There's a lot of culminations at this roast of a lot of storylines, and it's kind of, it's really impressive how well the writers did it and the directors and everything. But one of the most moving scenes to me is the culmination of this episode story between Tyra and Landry.
I love them. I love them together. I'm like, these two, the two smartest, most interesting people with the most potential, the most expansive thinking. I just like the fact that they found each other. And again, it's a testament to the writers and the actors of sort of like creating these really full people that you think are sort of on the opposite, on the surface, like ends of things, you know, and then you're like, oh, but it actually makes complete sense that they would find each other in this situation. And seeing them together is so beautiful.
You know, it's just in this town, so often somebody needs someone to talk to or someone to be there for them. And a lot of times somebody doesn't step up. But in Tyra's case, in this episode, you know, what happened to her last episode, Jesse and Landry really do step up for her. He goes to check on her. She hasn't been in school for a couple of days. We hear that Tammy's been trying to get a hold of her. Julie's been trying to get a hold of her. So we get the sense through other people's storylines that she's really isolated herself. And when Landry shows up at her house, she's like, look, I just don't want to talk about this. I want it to all just go away. And that's just it. It's not that big of a deal. My mom's out of town. I'm just taking a little bit of time. And Landry immediately knows, no, this is a big deal. And he goes to you for advice. He goes over to Grandma Saracen's house with Maddie there. And there's a great scene where you're just excited. You're like, wait, you weren't even at Mud Bowl. Like, where have you been, man? I need to know what happened with you and the Landry Colette date. Like, what happened with that? Did you profess your love? And he very quickly lets you know that, no, this is actually serious business.
It's so difficult. I mean, to hold something like that is someone else's most intimate truth. I have been in this situation in high school, and where I was the only person that someone told about a situation. And the way that it like ate me up inside, it was so complicated and so difficult because the level of trust and the level of feeling like, oh, this really isn't my thing to open up or discuss, but at the same time, it's really, I know that it's not something. And you watch what ends up happening, at the police station, and you go, well, yeah, no wonder people don't come forward. I mean, my God, like, and that's light, and that's like a light example. You're in there for like 15 hours getting poked and prodded, and it's like it couldn't be more of a traumatic experience. So it's like knowing that you're going to be adding that trauma and opening up this can of worms that's really not yours. Like, it's a really difficult place to be in,
Yeah.
I remember. I just want to say two things. Quick pin. The scene between me and Jesse, I was watching and I was like, man, this could have been such a TV moment, and it wasn't. Like, it just was like so honest and cool, and like that's all Reiner and the writers. And then I will say, because we're not going to get back to 2 scenes later, so it's like Landry shows up with this terrible news about Tyra, and then like later that night, Julie shows up with like Matt's just like,
yeah, you're getting
Matt is asleep when Landry shows up, and I go through this. I'm like, dude, this is fucked up. You got to do something.
And then you're like, finally, my girlfriend.
I'm gonna go back to bed. Oh, cool, my girlfriend's here. What? You're moving away and Coach is leaving? I'm like, what a shitty night.
And you got yelled at earlier. Like in football, they said not a damn laurel to you.
Then we go to the rat close, and Buddy just called you little Matt Saracen in front of
You're not even allowed to have a single laurel.
I don't have laurel. I don't have anything. Like, this is just another example. Wait for state, bitches. Wait for state.
I'm waiting.
Matt Saracen gets his comeuppance.
Pins and needles.
Back to Landry and Tyra.
But even when Saracen tried to go to bed at 7:30 and then Landry showed up at his house, he was able to give good advice as he was roused from his slumber. And he said, no, you have to talk to someone. So Landry goes to Tammy, which I think is the right person to go to in this situation. And Tammy kind of takes the reins.
Weird to go to coach.
Yeah, be weird to go to coach.
Really, that influences. I think this situation is a huge influence on what we just talked about Tammy being like, I have to stay here. This is serious shit. And like, I'm glad you have football. And she's respects his football seriousness, but like he doesn't even know the severity of what she's dealing with and how much these people need her and how serious that is, and she really feels a responsibility to these kids of being like, there isn't anyone else they can go to talk to about these things that knows how to handle them,
Yeah. And the way that Tyra is treated, it's like her worst fears come true. They go to the police station and she's getting grilled about everything. She's the one that has to get photographed. And when she comes out of this experience, she's frustrated. She's angry. And
what did she say, Scott?
Landry is there. And Landry's like, can I give you a ride home? And she says, you are nothing but a pathetic, smelly geek. And I don't ever want to talk to you again.
My feelings would be so hurt. I don't care if someone would call me the worst names on the planet, but if they said I was pathetic and smelly, I'm like, I think that is
pathetic,
brutal.
Smelly geek. But this line
that's fine. That's fine. But smelly
is I know. And she doesn't even later say you're not smelly, which I was like, tell him he's not smelly. Come on. We're all waiting for the resolution there.
I know.
When
never comes.
It's just, it comes out in a way, and this is Annie, just, she was fantastic in this episode, as she is all the time. But with her and Jesse working together, there is a different kind of chemistry than we are used to seeing in the show. And this one it's just interesting to see the two of them work together. And they're both so fantastic as actors. But yeah, that leads us to the roast. There's some other things that happen in between. Tim's had a tough time this episode. Jackie broke up with him. He's not going to be able to hang out with his new best friend, Bo, anymore.
I know. I'm like, that sucks because he's like a good dad. I mean, I get that he's like 11, but
you don't want to hurt Bo. But what you
do? No, I agree. I think that's right. You got to put your kid first. It's just shitty because you keep forgetting because Taylor Kitsch is actually 35. You're like, why? He's a good dad. Like he's treating the kid well.
Not 35.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying? He's also not 17.
Yeah. That particular scene for Riggins and Jackie, there's a lot more to that scene when she breaks up with them at the truck and says, you know, this is just for Bo. We can't do this. And in the script,
and then she says, he's mine. We're like, yeah, duh. Your son. Yeah, no one's questioning that. No one said, like, I don't even know if he's your son.
In the script, as she's walking away, he says, I'm happy. And she turns around and she says, I'm sorry, what did you say? And he says, I'm happy. Like, is it really so hard for anyone in this world to believe that I can be happy? And that's what I am with you and with Bo. I'm happy and I'm good with a question mark. And then he looks at her and he goes, Bo likes me. You like me. I can be a father figure for him.
Yes, girl.
When I'm with you, I'm good. And I can do this. Is that so hard to believe? And
yes, because if you were going to be a good father figure, you'd wash your hair.
You are not wrong, but the point is,
it's just they didn't lean into it. You know,
what does she say back to that?
She says,
in the script?
I just can't. And then she walks away. I mean, it's the same ending that she gives you.
You're underage.
I forget. Yeah. Right.
But it is like, honestly, we've seen little moments of Riggins like seeming like he's truly happy and a kid who has like a normal life. Like when his dad and him hit it off for like a single day together, there's like this light in Riggins. And I see why the audience just so wants to root for those moments to be
and
expanded.
He's not drinking. You know? He's responsible. He's taking care of him. I love that sweet moment where he's like, you know, when Bo's like, oh, let's hang out because my mom says you can't because you're football, but maybe I can because we're friends. And, you know, Riggins is like, no, you know, she's right or whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, Riggins. And then he goes, you know, hey, who pushes Bo around? And he's like, nobody pushes Bo around. And I was like, come on, give me a break. It's so charming.
That was our show motto. And that wasn't actually scripted. That was just him throwing our show motto. Nobody pushes us around. And that was the two of them working it into the script. And it does. My heart breaks for Bo because the entire time you've seen Bo on this show, he's always doing these play scenarios where he's always talking about Bo passing to Bo and Bo catching it and Bo shooting. And you can tell he's an only child who's played alone for so long. Yeah. And you know,
friend.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right. But
friends.
But this leads Riggins to try and reach out for a different form of connection. And he goes back to Tyra and she calls a spade like she always does. And he's like, I just want to hang out as friends. And she's like, do you know what a friend is? Let me define a friend for you. And she puts him in his place. I'm not going to
sleep with you to make your life better or whatever it is.
But he says, I'm not here for that. And I believe him. Do you believe him?
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, if it happened, you know, things happen.
If you lose yourself in the moment, what are you to do?
There's history there.
I mean, he's just a pathetic, smelly hot guy.
Okay. Pathetic, smelly hot guy.
Which leads to
yes, loves him. Pathetic, smelly geek. And
get ready for this smelly geek to smell his way right into your loins.
Is about to outshine the pathetic, smelly hot guy.
Yeah.
So
the show to this point has built up the Landry Clark proclaiming his love for for Tyra Collette as a joke. Whether it's Saracen or anybody else that's referencing it, whether it's Julie, whether it's Tyra herself, it's just been built up to this point where the audience can't possibly buy in on a declaration of love until Jesse Plemons kicks down your doors and says, I can act my ass off. And guess what? What he says to Tyra after the roast, the things that he says, the way that Jesse delivers it, you know, I have to believe that there's somebody out there better for you. Somebody out there who won't cheat on you. Somebody out there who won't come home drunk late at night. Someone who will show up each and every day. Oh my God. Like Jesse crushes that scene.
I have a little tingle.
Makes what you thought was going to be a joke into one of the most honest, most impressive proclamations of love. And I buy it, man.
Hot.
I buy anybody falling for somebody like that because he's not just words. He is action as well. And he showed it in this episode.
And that's also like, you can see like Annie, you know, it's acting without talking. you see her hear what he's saying, and you see that character make a realization of like
the change.
Oh my
Like,
God,
I
just thought this
deserve
was a nice
this.
guy who's been nice to me, but like A, yes, everything you just said, May, but B, also like, oh my God, this person sees me and like I see them in a whole different way right now.
And I see myself in a whole different way. I see the possibility of myself accepting a love that's actually equal or to me or greater or something that I deserve, you know, as opposed to me thinking that I don't deserve a better love or a love like that. I mean, he's telling her this is, you can have that and you should have that and you deserve that. And I feel like you can see her sort of like open up to that possibility. And that's a life-changing moment.
And if I may, and sorry if if I may segue.
You may.
In that moment, like we were saying, I have
never heard that one before.
I felt the same thing in the scene in the car with you and Susie Q. Wow, I'm a poet. I don't even know it.
Girl,
oh, these segues that are happening. What was it about the car scene? That
when you're in the car and I see, and she's like, "You're fun," and you're like, "You're fun too." It was just one of those moments where I'm like, "This is an 18-year-old who, yeah, he's married. He's the best guy in the world." But we've all been there where we're like, "Oh my God, this is the most like this is the stuff movies are made of." It's this moment where, oh, I happened to run into this girl while she's buying a ticket. There was a chemistry. She lives in a different town, but now we're together. We're in this car. It all seems magical. And I'm telling you, in that moment, watching that scene, I loved it because it seems so real. And I bought it because I was like, I've been there. I had that moment when I was 18, 17, 19.
I'm throwing the fan voice card down, which is, you know, I think everything that you guys are saying is for me as a fan and the voice of the fans here. For me, this is such a huge part of why I love this show and what draws me to this show. And it's like, it's almost like it encapsulates that magic, that nostalgia, that feeling that you have when you are that age or any age, that moment, like you're saying, you run into someone, there's the wind blows in a certain way. It's a summer night. There's a thing, there's a connection, there's a magic. It's like, there's this very specific feeling. And I think we all like long to feel it. We've all felt it. We know what it's like. And you're able to really tune back into that nostalgic feeling in a really honest way on this show. And I think that's really hard to genuinely capture that in a way that doesn't feel manipulative or saccharine. And I feel like it's personally what really like makes me love this show so much.
Yeah. And for me, it's a surprise that they're able to bring all the time. They do it in such a fresh way that it does still feel surprising. I couldn't remember if Susie came back after Stonehenge 2.
Yeah,
I really couldn't as the actor. And then, you know, she shows up and I'm filling out some paperwork because I'm a new gainfully employed coach for the Dillon Panthers, which that's pretty exciting. And like you said, there's like a whole new
sister lives in Dillon.
Yes,
like,
there's a whole new meet.
I have a right to be here. You know?
Hey, well, the point is that her delivering the fridge to her sister now makes a lot more sense. Her sister moved to Dillon. She's got to help her, you know, set up the apartment. I didn't even put that together. You know, all that I was
stuff. Like, whatever, you're here, just make out.
Just had a fridge in the car that had to get delivered somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going to use that one. Sorry, I got a fridge in the car. Where'd you say you live? That's where my fridge is going.
El Paso? Yeah, no, I got to deliver a fridge.
What are the odds? I have a fridge.
But this is where the whole, like, the editors reign supreme on this show as well. Like, I mean, they won an Emmy on this show before anyone else on this show. Before any actor, writer, director won an Emmy on the show, our editors did. And, you know, that has a lot to do with Reiner and what he's choosing to cut. But in this episode alone, there is a huge scene with Lyla and Jason where he goes to break up with her. And she has just come from the family meeting and her parents have just told her they are officially getting a divorce. And in that moment, he doesn't do it, whether he can't. And he should, but like, that is an impossible choice. We have to end, even though all this stuff is happening, you know, and he chooses not to tell her. There's a big scene with Lyla and Waverly shooting guns out by the quarry again, where they're talking about their own personal worth, their own personal value. And then there's one last scene with Herc and Street, and Street is like, I should not be going to get a bite to eat with Susie in the midst of all of this. And Herc is saying life is to be lived moment to moment. We should know better than anyone else. Everything you think you know now can change in an instant. So you got to trust your gut. And so like there's a lot of advice like flying around, a lot of moments where this breakup should have happened, quite frankly. And it's just a shame that it ends the way that it ends. I
It's
wish,
hard to close the door, and especially when you're that age, I feel like closing doors is so scary because you haven't done it enough times to know that like it's okay, and that there's never anything you can't completely move on from or take back or adjust or whatever. And I feel like I know when I was a teenager, especially, it was so scary because you feel like you're making these huge choices that are going to affect the rest of your life, and you don't know if you're equipped to do that. And especially I think with men, no offense, I've noticed there's like, sometimes it comes down to unless I absolutely have to, why would I? I don't think it necessarily the emotional weight of, all these things is maybe playing and zooming around in your head at all times. Not all. I'm, I get it. I understand, but I'm just saying,
Neanderthal.
You know what I mean? There's like this, there's this like thing where it's sort of like, the concept that, maybe you're not as good at multitasking. It's like, there's this direct line of thinking of being like, why would I go out of my way and do this other thing when I don't even know for sure the thing or whatever? It's like, it kind of like, especially when you don't have the tools, and it kind of this door just gets slammed for him,
Back to the door slamming.
I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, I feel like I feel like Lila's discovery of this moment of Susie and Street in the car, I feel like as though it was a relief for everybody. And the fact that nobody could be honest to the point of just ending this thing. And so it was almost done for them. And I think it was a relief for the viewers too, to kind of be like, okay, this saga is done for now. Street, Lyla, Riggins, the trauma that happened after Street's injury, how they all dealt with it. Mistakes were made. Lessons are to be learned. But I feel like coming out of this, maybe possibly they were all changed for the better. I think Lyla maybe understands her own worth way more.
Lyla needs to be free.
Yeah, 100%. And Street needs to stop holding on to everything that he was I mean, he even says it when he proposes to Lyla. I want to be a better man despite my injury instead of being the man I was before it. And he still hasn't done that. He said it, but it's as though he's not brave enough to step out there. But the fallout from this hopefully makes them all better.
I like it when Lyla throws the ring. I love a good ring.
Yes.
Throw. I think that is so cool. I know. It's like, I hope I never have to do that. Like in my actual
first time
life,
she did it. First time she did it, she caught me right in the side of the head. Kind of hurt. I told her she needs some better aim. But the second time she did it, she threw it into the wheel well of the car. Which
it's just it's so appealing. Like there's no better button on a it's over than like a ring.
Like if I wore gloves around and I could take them off and slap someone in the face with them. That's the version, because no one's giving me a ring to throw it. I mean, I guess I could throw my wife, but
maybe we'll get you like a little ring that you can toss around the studio for when you're upset. Yeah.
I'll be like, flag on the play.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly it. I mean, we touched on almost all the storylines, the Smash and Waverly saga, where Waverly's not breaking up with Smash, but kind of like letting him try and end it on his own. And he comes to his senses and stays with her. Zach mentioned that. And we talked about pretty much everybody else. I think it's safe to move into overtime. And I think overtime might be just a little bit longer today, because the thing I want to talk about in overtime involves two of our hosts here today. So I'll let the other overtimes go first, and then I'll bring up mine.
Not with that kind of panic.
Way to bury the lead.
That's like your significant other being like, we need to talk after work. I'm like, no, I can't fucking work all day, because I know there's some shit we're gonna have to talk about.
Okay, so I mentioned some of the under review stuff, and the editors, the way that they worked on this episode was pretty incredible. I mean, the Buddy Garrity divorce situation happened right after the credits, but they lifted it, put it towards the end of the episode, so it happened right before Lyla discovering Street, and that the impact that made on the episode was huge. Quite often, they cut a ton because the writers seem to not know that we shot hour-long episodes, and there's no way that we could possibly fit anything in here. There's a big scene with Mayor Rodell and Tammy Taylor, as Tammy is still, here's a storyline we've forgotten about, her campaign manager for her re-election campaign. Remember that episode happened a long time ago? Mayor Rodell invites the Taylors over to her house.
Oh
lets them,
yeah.
that whole thing. That came up, and Mayor Rodell seems to know that Coach is probably accepting this TMU job, and they cut that. They cut, like I said, the big scene with Lyla and Jason where he's trying to break up with her, but her parents are getting a divorce and she's getting ready to go cheer. But one scene that I was really bummed about actually is a part of a storyline that we didn't talk about today. And that is Jason Street actually becoming the quarterback coach for Matt Saracen. And one of my favorite scenes I ever worked on this show.
Damn Laurel.
I roll into Coach's office. And he, unscripted, and he did this to me every single time I rolled through the door, said something new to me. The one that made the episode was, "You're 15 minutes late." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" "No, I'm here when he said it was." He's like, "No, you're 15 minutes. Don't argue with me." I'm like, "Okay." And then he brings Matt in.
Oh, yeah, he's like, "Get your lazy ass in here." Lazy about Matt Saracen.
He's so crabby.
Yeah.
That scene that was one of my favorite scenes ever to work on. And the rest of that scene goes as scripted, actually. The laurels, don't rest on your laurels. You don't have any laurels. All of that scripted. Beautifully scripted by Carrie Aaron and Carter Harris here. That back and forth is awesome. But Street has got his he's got his little cocky pants on. Like at the end, he's like, I'm the new girl in town. I'll take care of Julie for you. Don't worry about that.
We're gonna have lunch. I usually have lunch with Julie. It's like, yeah, I know it's your girlfriend. Who gives a like? Of course you do.
But this is, nobody knows everything else that's going on. She's leaving. Coach has already taken a job. So Saracen's got a much different look at this. But there was a huge scene on page 32 of the script, and it was a big film session scene between me and you, Zach. And I wish I was in the studio. To the listening audience, I unfortunately have COVID, so I'm at home right now. I wish I was there. But we're breaking down film of Texas and Oklahoma, and it's about 2 pages long. And we're going back and forth with each other. And I missed this in the episode because it's a reminder of and this is the beauty of the show. And I don't miss it for this reason. I don't miss the scene being here because we don't need a reminder. I think people at this point are starting to see Jason as just a character on the show, as opposed to seeing Jason as a character with an injury. But this was a reminder of everything. I say, look, the only difference between you and me is that I would learn everything I could about every team I played against. And then I would learn everything I could about every player on that field. When I walked on that field, I knew who was fast, who was smart, who got tired, who got frustrated, who I could pick on and who I had to respect. That's being prepared. You don't understand that. At some point in every game, it would all come together. You think you're working, but you're not. When life throws a puzzle at you, you have to be able to put it together. And it should be easy. It should be like pieces falling into place. It should be like you being able to create order from chaos. And I would know exactly how to win that game. And that's why you're not ready. So anyway,
they cut this scene because that's a terrible monologue. And they've cut it 14 times. Like you've done under review. Like Smash said that to Riggins. It's like we did it the one time where we kept it. You're like, oh, Saracen's different. He listens to Bob Dylan. That's all we need.
Exactly. Like enough. We get it.
Each player understands all the play. Like they've done this speech 1,000 times. It's not a good speech. It's
you
just
don't need it.
Show TV.
You don't need it. We know you. We see you. We're the Landry to your Tyra, Saracen. We see you. We know we know you love to listen to alt rock. It's okay.
Yeah. But they
you're Mr. Brightside. We get it.
I don't know.
Live strong,
I loved it. I loved the monologue. But at the very end of the scene, I say if you're just going out there to run plays in a playbook, you're just a kid in a pretty costume running drills. You want to be great, then sit down. Understand that this is how you win at life. But yeah, you're right. It's a monologue that's not needed. And it's why the people making the decisions on this show were so, invaluable. Because I see all these monologues and I think they're all great, but are they all needed? No. I think the show did a fantastic job of making Jason Street a character that you saw as just a character in the show, and no longer a character who was injured or a character whose injury was his only storyline. I feel like Jason offered so much more, and that's because of the people that were writing and the people that were in charge and the people that were making decisions. So my overtime was just, I'm bummed that we lost the scene, Zach, but I'm so grateful to everybody involved in creating Street that they were able to let people just see him as a human being and as a character and not a walking injury.
I think I know.
That's my overtime.
I think what I was trying to say about that scene in the car, I know at times you were like, oh, people aren't going to like me, or I don't like Street or whatever. But that scene to me really was like, this is like, it just was so authentic. And even though you were doing the complete wrong thing, I totally, like, I got it. And it was okay. And I wasn't mad at you because I was like, we've all been there. And this is exactly what you're going to do. And it's a magical moment.
Life is messy.
Yeah, life's super messy. And so
bring tissues so you can cram them up your nose when it becomes a mess.
You never know. Life's a mess. You never know when your nose is going to bleed.
Totally. My overtime is that I one time was driving to Disneyland and I got a bloody nose and I didn't have any tissues and all I had was a tampon and I had to put a tampon in my nose.
Oh my gosh. For anybody listening who doesn't understand what that particular overtime is in reference to, it's Zach got a little bloody nose and our little
and he has a big wad sticking out of his nostril.
This is the episode. Go on to YouTube and check it out.
Our little tapioca pudding got a little bloody nose in the middle of this whole thing. Zach, what was your overtime?
Oh my God, I don't know. We kind of hit on everything. I think it was. I did have one, but now I don't remember. I think I was really impressed by this episode. My wife came downstairs as there was literally like 30 seconds left, and she's like, "Are you crying?" I was like, "There's Jose Gonzalez playing. Of course I'm crying."
Yes, that was good. I like to hear that. That took me back. I was less of a Killers girl and more of a Jose Gonzalez girl.
That is, I think, the third time they've used that song in this show, and it always seems to hit super hard. I don't think we have time for Press Box today. Apologies, everybody out there that has been submitting questions. We see them all, and we are very excited to get to them. It's just this episode was so jam-packed that there were 8 scenes that were cut that were also very meaningful, and we didn't even get to all the storylines. So we're going to end it after overtime today. Next week, we should be having a special guest on with us. Next week is going to be Gaius Charles, the Smash himself, on with us to talk about his time on Friday Night Lights. So we'll get an idea of what Gaius's journey on the show was, and we can't wait to share that with you all. We can't wait to see you next Thursday for another episode of It's Not Only Football, Friday Night Lights and Beyond. But until we do, we say Texas
forever.
Forever.
Oh my gosh.
Texas for now.
Hi, guys.